Good evening and welcome to this flight video. I'm going to be filming the setup of the Airbus A320-200neo, and then we're going to be taxiing and taking off from Boston Logan International Airport, which is where we are at the moment, at one of the ramps, and we're going to be flying west and landing at Pittsburgh International Airport, so a distance of just over 500 miles, about an hour and a half in flight time, cruising altitude of 38,000 feet. So it looks like a lovely day here at Boston. Massive airport at Boston International. It's got 6 runways. I believe Pittsburgh's got 4, so another big airport. But yeah, let's get started. So on the ground here, you can see that the aircraft is currently plugged into this generator by this big yellow cable. That's the GPU, this generator, the ground power unit. That provides the aircraft with its initial power, but a bit like jump starting a car. You can't get anything started without this power being plugged in the first place. Just going to take the engine covers off there, we don't need those. So the next thing we need to do is just enter the cockpit and get things started. As you can see, we're on a cold dark start, so all of the screens are off, nothing going on here. But one thing we can do, looking over in the overhead panel, the first thing that's available is this switch to the right here, external power. So select that and things start to come to life a bit, and that's using that big generator we've got outside that we're plugged into at the moment. And obviously we have to get ourselves into a state on the aircraft where we can disconnect the ground power unit and the aircraft is generating its own power, so that will happen in a bit. First few things we're going to do is just going to switch these dials up here, the IRS dials, and this essentially takes about 8 minutes to align all of the GPS navigation systems on the plane to tell the plane where it is, the altitude it's at, which way up it is, so all really essential stuff. As I say, it takes about 8 minutes, so we'll switch that on now, gives us a bit of time. Crew oxygen supply will switch on. We've got 2 batteries here, the 2 main batteries on the plane, we'll switch those on. Then we might as well just do some lights whilst we're down here. We've got the emergency exit, we'll set that to arm. No smoking sign, which is amazing that we still have a no smoking sign rather than just having a permanent sign, but there you go. Switch that on. Seat belts to on, hear the ding, there you go. Nav lights set to 2, wing lights on, and these other lights are switched on and off at various different stages of the flight, including takeoff. But also when switching the engines on, for example, we turn the beacon light on, it warns anyone externally that we're about to fire up the engines. Well, that's that just for now, and the next thing we're going to do is move over to what we call the EFB, or electronic flight bag, which is this little laptop looking thing, this tablet here. So I've uploaded a plan using my phone into an app called SimBrief, and I've created the plan using the real world route that you would take in real life from Boston to Pittsburgh. So if I click on this button here, it will download the plan straight into the tablet. So we've got the departure KBOS, which is the code for Boston Logan International, arriving KPIT, which is the code for Pittsburgh International. And we've got various icons on the left that we can use. So we go to ground to begin with, and we've got rid of the chocks and the covers. The GPU's on green, that's good, we need that at the moment. We're going to toggle the stairs so people can climb aboard. We're going to toggle catering, and we're going to toggle luggage. Okay, whilst that's all going on, we'll go to payload. Payload is all about the weight in the aircraft. And again, I'm going to import the weights from my plan that I did earlier from SimBrief into here, so that's automatically put here. The number of passengers at 186, cargo at 18,397 kilograms, and the fuel at just over 19 tons, as you can see there. I'm going to apply that load and select instantly, so it applies it instantly. You can do it realistically, but it can take up to 40 minutes of waiting around for the aircraft to be fueled up. So that's changed this top number, the live gross weight, which is essentially the entire weight of the plane with the passengers, cargo and fuel, which is sitting just under 65 tons, so pretty weighty that. Now we need that when we go down to this icon, which is takeoff, and this uses the computer on the plane to calculate the speed that we need to be going in order to reach V1, which is our rotate or takeoff speed in knots. So first of all, we go over here, and the first thing I need to look at is which runway we're going to be taking off from. So I'm going to just refer to my plan. I'm going to do it on my mobile because it's just easier than switching between screens on here. So we're going from 22R, So if I click on runway, I should select 22R, which is this runway here. I'm going to sync that, calculate. Oh, sorry, we need to put the weight in first, of course. Just come out of there, just double check what the weight was of the total live gross weight, 64801. Put that in here. All right, and then we go to calculate. Okay, these icons have moved along. This is the point at which we'll take off. And the crucial speed, the V1 speed, is 131 knots. That's the speed that it's saying that we'll need to reach, taking into consideration the wind, the conditions, the length of the runway, and of course, crucially, the weight of the aircraft. That's the speed we need to reach in order to be able to take off. It's quite a low V1 speed. Often you'll see speeds of around 148, 150 and above. I'm going to send this to the flight management guidance system, okay, which we'll look at in just a sec. So that's all we're going to do on the FB for now. We'll come back to it in a bit. So yeah, I mentioned the FMGS. We're going to go over there now. Just move the camera up slightly. And this is over here. So this panel is the MCDU, or the MCDU, as you can see there, it says at the top. Multi-channel display unit. So FMGC is what we click at the top here, and we're going to use this. This is essentially the brains of the whole aircraft. This is what we're going to program the flight plan into, so that the aircraft can follow the flight plan. It will know the weights that it's sitting at. It will know the fuel that's needed for the whole journey, and so on. So it's a really important piece of kit. First thing we're going to do is going to enter the flight plan so we can pull it over from that EFB, you know, the tablet that we're looking at just now. So go to init, click on init request and wait a second. So it's put from KBOS, Boston, to Pittsburgh. It's in there. Okay. We'll go to the flight plan now, here. And now that we've done that, all of the waypoints, so each one of these is a waypoint that's being populated from the flight plan into the plane's computer. And you can see here on the right hand side the distance between each waypoint. So for example, the distance between these two waypoints is 106 nautical miles. And we can scroll through every waypoint, and you can see it's a really short plan. There's only that. Sometimes you can be scrolling for page after page after page if you're doing a long flight, but you can see there's only that many waypoints. It's a pretty short flight in comparison to a lot of flights. End of flight plan there. What it hasn't got are the departure and arrival procedures, so we need to enter those into our plan.
2630, hold position. Caution the departing Embraer E170.
What we're going to do then is to enter the departure to begin with. KBOS, which is where we are now. I'm going to go to departure. I'm going to select the runway we're departing from. We know that we're departing from 22R. Select this. Then we get the option of which SID to select. So we've got SIDs here. So SID stands for Standard Instrument Departure. And essentially what a SID is a pathway that you're going to follow once you've taken off to leave the general area of the airport. And each airport has a set number of pathways, or SIDs, that a plane will follow depending on the route of the flight. Okay, so my flight plan will tell me which SID I need to use, which is obviously going to put us on a path to be going kind of west and south a little bit towards Pittsburgh. So let's have a look at my flight plan, just referring to that. The one we're looking for, I think it looks like it's Rev SS6. So if we just scroll through here a bit, there we go. We can select that one and then insert there, and that's put those in there. So we know now in the plan which runway we're taking off. The computer in the plane knows where it's going to be taken off from and the route that we're expecting to follow. So let's just scroll down a bit further. Should we just clear that yellow nav warning at the bottom? There we go. So we go down to the bottom of the plan because now we need to enter our arrival procedure at Pittsburgh. So we select KPIT, which is the last waypoint, of course, which is the runway itself. Arrival, we go there, and I'm looking at my plan on my phone, just because it's easier, and I'm going to look to see which runway we're going to be arriving at. I'm going to be landing on runway 32. So scroll through here, and scroll up a bit. Runway ILS, which is the type of landing. It's an instrument landing system landing, which we'll get to obviously later in the flight. Runway 32, And we're looking for HAYNZ7 as the star. So a star is a bit like a SID, but in the other way around. So it's the pathway we're going to be following as we arrive into the general area of the airport in order to put us in line with the runway and to land. So the star we're looking for is HAYNZ7, and there it is. Select that. We've got some options for transitions as well, and transitions are just going to be another pathway that puts you on the star pathway beforehand. And I can see they've got a transition here, and the one on the plan is saying SLT, so we'll pop that in as well via SLT, and then insert that. And then the next thing we're going to do now, before we finish with the flight plan, is just we're going to scroll all the way through it, and we're going to make sure we've not got what we call flight plan discontinuities. Because sometimes when you put a flight plan in, it can say F plan discontinuity. What that means is that there are 2 waypoints that don't meet within the plan. And if you left those in, and say for example you were cruising at 38,000 feet, and a one waypoint wasn't going to meet the next one, your plane would just continue, if you're an autopilot, forever until you run out of fuel. So we need to make sure all of the waypoints connect up. So I'm just going to scroll through here. There are more waypoints in here now because I've entered the SIDs and the stars, so it's put more waypoints in. We've got a flight plan discontinuity here, but all we need to do to get rid of it, I'm going to select clear. I'm going to get rid of the manual section, which is where you'd expect it to take over manually and try and get to the next waypoint. Get rid of that first. Then select clear again and select flight plan discontinuity, and it's gone. And there's a way of checking to make sure the line that we're going to be following is all adding up. So all the discontinuities are gone. We go back to the top. So what we'll do, if we go back to here, now these 2 screens, so we've got the EFB and the navigation screen. These have loaded up now that those 3 dials have aligned that we switched on earlier on. And we're going to change the setting of this navigation screen by using these dials here. We're going to move this to plan. This is going to show us the whole plan that we can scroll through to make sure there are no weird glitches in the plan, and that it's one continuous pathway all the way from Boston to Pittsburgh that we're going to be following. We use this dial to scroll out, give us a wider range, 80 miles here. And then if I just pull out a little bit here, what I can do is just scroll through the waypoints, and each one will go through on the plan as we go. Yeah, looking good so far. Yeah, and I can see already there are no disconnecting pieces to the plan. So that's what you can do just to double check after you've got rid of a flight plan discontinuity that it's one continuous plan. It looks pretty straightforward. There shouldn't be any issues with the actual navigation. Just notice the cabin door's still open. So we can close that from there. Right, and I'm happy with the flight plan on here. So the next thing we need to do, we're going to go to back to init. We're going to go to the init 2, as we call it, which is where we have the weights that we need to enter for our fuel, and we can pull this over again from the electronic flight bag. And then if we click fuel planning, you're going to see this section populate in a second where it says block. Okay, block confirm. So block fuel is the most crucial number in all of this, all of these calculations to do with fuel, because block fuel is the amount of fuel that the plane needs to know that it's going to have to use, or potentially use, to taxi, take off, carry out the flight, land, taxi again, but also have reserve fuels if we need to get diverted to an alternative airport. So it's the most important number. It's quite a low number, that, because again it's a very short flight.
United 2630, continue taxi.
So next page, we're going to go to performance, and earlier on we used the weights on the EFB over here on the left to calculate the V1 speed, the takeoff speed. They're ready, they've been sent over because we sent it to FMGS. They're ready to be populated. If I just click confirm takeoff data, which is what that stands for. So they've gone in. So again, when we go to take off, we'll get a little notification showing when we need to pull back on the stick to rotate. You also see within here the flap configuration. So flaps 1, every flight I've done in the Airbus A320 so far has been flaps 1. I think in the A330 as well. It's obviously a very common configuration. So that basically means that when we're ready to take off, before we take off, we need to set our flaps to level 1 before we actually take off. And this point 4 here refers to the trim setting that we need to make sure the plane is in order to take off. So this is the takeoff data page here. What we can do is go to the other phases of the flight. So we can go to climbing phase, and we've got information all in there. We don't need to worry too much about that. Cruising, which tells us about the cruise altitude and so on. Descending, and then obviously the approach phase as well. There's a lot of information we could enter here, but there's no point in entering this now because this is to do with temperature, wind, etc., and that may change by the time we arrive at Pittsburgh. So we can't really populate the approach data just yet. And go around should we need to go around and repeat the approach. So anyway, we're just going to click that back on flight plan. I'd like to leave that there. And that's the MCDU done for now. So next thing we're going to go back up to this panel here. So as we said earlier on, we need to get the aircraft into a state where it's generating its own power, because we're still plugged into the big generator by the big cable outside. And what we're going to use to do that is called the APU. It stands for Auxiliary Power Unit. So we're going to switch on the APU by going to Master Switch, waiting a few seconds, and then clicking Start. The APU can actually look to see where that is. We'll go outside of the aircraft now. And right at the back, there's this big exhaust pipe, the big hole at the back. We've opened that up, and there's a little jet engine we've just fired up, and in a second you'll see vapours coming out the back. In a moment, if we get it to the right angle, we should start to see that. There we go, so it's a bit misty now coming out the back of that exhaust there. So what that is a little jet engine in the back of the aircraft. We're firing that up. Once that's all ready and fired up and at 100% power, we can switch off and get rid of that generator at the front, because the aircraft will have power coming from this APU. But we're not going to keep it on for too long. We're going to get this fired up, and then we're going to bleed pressurised air from the APU into the main engines. They'll help to spool up the engines when we need to fire them up when it comes to it, and we'll use energy from the APU to pressurise the cabin and everything. So it's a really crucial phase of the getting the plane ready. Once we've done that and the engines are up and running, we'll shut down the APU altogether and switch it off. So it's just the initial piece of equipment we use to start thinking about getting the engine started. So back inside the cockpit, and on one of our displays we can see a readout of the APU here. See that it's approaching. It says available at the top. Once that's available, we can now go ahead and switch off the ground power unit. So that's the external power there. We can switch that, and we can use the EFB to tell the GPU to go away, please. Click on that, and that's removed. So we're now generating our own power. So that's good. All right, back to here. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. So we're getting there. One thing I'm going to do quickly, actually, this is just part of the actual simulator more than anything. I'm just going to go and do this to make sure that air traffic control, this is the way to make sure that air traffic control in the simulator knows the route that I'm going to be following, and crucially knows which runway I'm going to be taking off. So I'm going to import the request from avionics. That will import the plan. Runway 22L, I think it's 22R we're going from, actually, not 22L, so I need to change that. Yeah, it's 22R. Let's just change that there. And then we're going to send to ATC. That should be enough to make sure that when it comes to requesting taxiing out to the runway, they give us the correct runway to taxi to, because it can cause a few issues if they don't. Right. So we're getting there now with the setup. A couple of other bits and bobs to sort out now. So if we go down here, move the armrest out of the way. Here we have a system. For some reason it's not letting me move. I'm just going to come around here. That's it. That's better. All right. This system here, down here, is the traffic alert system, traffic alert collision system, TACS. we need to switch this on. You can switch this on just before takeoff, but to be honest, just to save a bit of time, and also so that I don't forget, I'm going to switch it on now. And this basically will provide warnings if we are on a collision course with another aircraft. So really crucial piece of kit there. And then just over here on the left, we've got our wind shear hazard system to switch on as well. We'll just switch that on to 2. Wind shear is what they call changes, sort of dangerous, significant changes in air pressure, either horizontally or vertically, which can affect the aircraft. And this just predicts and warns us of any potential wind shear that we might be about to encounter, so that we can look to avoid that. I'm just going to move this back onto the APU screen there. Okay, brilliant. Right, we are getting there. I'm going to turn the flight director on, just do a few other little bits of prep now. I'm going to turn the flight director on. I'm going to get a few little bits set up to make sure that when it comes to flicking on the autopilot after we've taken off, I've got the settings where I want them to be. Just going to double check what our cruise altitude is going to be as well, because I'm not. Check that. What did I say? Yeah, 30. Yeah, flight level 380, so 38,000 feet. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Right, in a pretty good position now. What we can do is we can start speaking to. I'm going to switch that back to arc for the actual takeoff and switch that back to a more reasonable range, 10 miles. We could start speaking to air traffic control. So we go up here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to request IFR clearance, which was the type of takeoff that we're doing.
X-ray Golf Sierra IFR to Pittsburgh, ready to copy.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra is cleared to Pittsburgh Airport via the Arrivas S6 departure, runway 22 right. Climb via Sid maintain.
We've got the right runway, which is good.
Flight level 22010 minutes after departure. Departure frequency is 133.0, squawk tree 525.
The squawk code actually gets changed automatically. If we go down here, it might have already changed that 2000 there.
By the Arrivas S6 departure, runway 22 right.
This 2000 here will change to 3525 in just a second. That's the frequency we need to be tuned into.
Squawk tree 525. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra.
There we go. All right, so that's that
Airbus
sorted.
X-ray Golf Sierra, read back correct. Contact ground on 134.05. Good day.
Good day to you. Right. So what I'm going to do now, I think I'm ready, is to go to ground services. I'm going to tune to ground 134. And I'm going to request pushback.
Boston ground. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray
Go outside, you should see a little cart thing coming around. Oh, I need to get rid of the stairs. There we go.
Alpha Sierra X-ray
That's
Golf
fine.
Sierra.
Pushback man's coming around.
Accepted.
So I need to turn the parking brake off, otherwise we won't go anywhere. So whilst we're being pushed back, we're going to look at starting to get the engines fired up, which would be the normal process whilst we're pushing back. Just make sure we just stop pushing it back. Here we go. Just stop moving in a sec. Here we go. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn the APU bleed on to start bleeding pressurized air into the engines. We're going to switch ignition to the ignition, and then we're going to switch both engines on. If we go externally, we should start to see them spooling up. There we go. You should start to see them rotating, and then they'll start to reach full power. Pop the fuel pumps on.
Boston ground. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra. Requesting end pushback.
Okay.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra. Request to end pushback received.
That's good.
Boston ground. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra with Echo.
Really
Ready
going.
to
That's
taxi.
good. Okay.
IFR.
Fantastic. Ready to taxi.
Airbus Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra. Taxi to and hold short of runway 22 right using taxiway Alpha Alpha 1 Bravo November cross runway 15 right November. Contact tower on 132.225 when ready.
Supposed to remember all that. I'll just turn on the taxi ribbon, which is quite a handy way of doing that. So, engines are available. I'm going to switch this back, the ignition back to normal. Oops, not crank, normal. And I'm going to switch the APU bleed off, and I'm going to switch the APU off altogether. Now we're running off the power of the engine, so that's great. And we're going to start taxiing. Nice and slowly. Just going to pull back the view a bit. You can see, get a slightly better view of things. There we go. It's a bit of a trek to runway 22R. Massive airport, Boston. So as I was saying, 6 runways, incredibly busy.
Airbus X-ray Golf Sierra, hold position. Caution other traffic.
Is that yellow van? He's not asked him to wait. I'm bigger than him. Oh, probably that plane actually.
Taxi.
Oh, there's a plane there.
Roger. Airbus X-ray Golf Sierra.
Airbus X-ray Golf Sierra, hold position.
Yep,
Caution the Airbus A320 on the taxiway.
Yeah, that'll be him or her.
Hold position. Airbus X-ray Golf Sierra.
That's actually a Airbus A321, so it must be referring to another plane.
Airbus X-ray Golf Sierra, continue taxi.
Roger.
Probably going to be a lot of this.
Sierra.
It's got a good turning circle. You see how busy it is. Incredibly congested. Had this the other day here. So there tends to be quite a bit of waiting around before taking off. So whilst we're waiting, see down here that we've got a bit of a checklist appeared on the screen. This is our takeoff checklist. So we've got auto brake set to max. Make sure signs are on, they're already on, so there's nothing there. The cabin, which needs to check. Spoilers, we can do in a bit. Flaps, takeoff configuration. And then test the takeoff configuration to make sure it says normal. Which is what we'll do in a bit. We don't have to do any of that now. We could do, but we don't really have to. Yeah, one thing I did forget was to turn the beacon light on to warn anyone that I was about to switch the engines on. So that's to warn anyone walking around outside the aircraft. As far as I'm aware, no one perished, so I think we got away with it. Probably I should turn though the nose light to taxi. Yeah. In the interest of saving time, I might just want to see what's going on here. I'll give him a minute and then I'll just go through him because I can. not sure what he's waiting for. Yeah, he's not budging. I think I'm just gonna go through as if he's not there. Let's pretend this one's not here. Take off the parking brake. Let's go. Let's get over to that runway. I need to get to Pittsburgh. There you go. He uses that. To be fair, I've not been told off by air traffic control, so doesn't seem to be a huge problem. Make our way down here. Lovely lake over here. Lovely setting. Let's get rid of this. Nice. More traffic. I could turn off the taxi ribbon. I actually know where the runway is now, so it's fine. It's like we're just queuing up to take off. A220 there, tiny little plane. Hardly even worth it. I'll start configuring things now for takeoff because it's not going to be too long. So auto brake in case we need to automatically have the plane automatic brake in case of emergency, switch that on. We're going to pull up the speed brake, arm that because that arms it with pressurized air. We're going to set the flaps to 1, which is the configuration for takeoff. There we go. Going to select the takeoff configuration test. It should hopefully say normal. There we go, normal, it's gone. And I think, oh, that's rude, isn't it? Okay, obviously I'm not next. It's probably because I pushed in front of him, so can't really blame him. I'm going to now park that, and I'm going to speak to air traffic control. I need to tune into the tower.
short runway 22 right, American 2575. Boston Tower, American 2575 at runway 22 right, ready for departure, IFR to Sky Harbor. American 2575, hold short runway 22 right. Traffic is Airbus A220 on short final. American 2575, altimeter 299er2, clear for takeoff runway 22 right. JetBlue 541, contact Boston departure on 133.0. Good day. Boston Tower, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra at runway 22 right, ready for departure, IFR to Pittsburgh. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra, hold short runway 22 right. Traffic is Airbus A320 on the runway.
Oh yeah.
Takeoff runway 22 right, American 2575. One three decimal zero for JetBlue 541. Hold short runway 22 right, Airbus X-Ray Golf Sierra. Boston Tower, JetBlue tree ready for IFR departure. Runway 22 right. JetBlue tree, hold short runway 22. Hold short runway 22 right. JetBlue tree. Boston Tower, JetBlue tree ready for IFR departure. Runway 22 right. JetBlue tree, hold short runway 22 right. Traffic is Airbus A320 on the runway. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra, altimeter 299er2, clear for takeoff runway 22
And that's
right.
our clearance. Here we go.
JetBlue tree, altimeter 299er2, clear for takeoff runway 22 right. American 2575, contact Boston departure, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Lovely lit up runway. Nice evening, beautiful evening. Okay.
Cleared for takeoff runway 22 right. JetBlue tree.
So a little bit of power. And then we're going to go flex and then toga, which is full throttle. Toga standing for takeoff, go around. Heading towards 135 knots. That's right. Yeah. So approaching that speed now. Gently pull back. Positive rate of climb. So gear up.
Boston Tower, American 149er 5 ready for IFR departure.
Flaps up.
Runway 22 right.
Still in toga, going to move the throttle down to climb in just a second. We don't need the whole toga power. Set that to climb now. Throttle in climb. Good rate of climb, following the plan nicely. Good, it all looks good.
Hold short runway 22 right. American
Beautiful view out here.
149er 5.
Let's have a look externally.
Decimal zero, Airbus X-Ray Golf Sierra. Boston departure, Airbus Alpha Sierra.
Airbus X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Is at 2,000.
Expect flight level 220. Keep speed not above 210 knots.
And most of the flight plans from
Flight level 220.
hang on.
Keep speed not above 210 knots. Airbus X-Ray Golf Sierra.
210 knots, quite a low speed. The speed limit under 10,000 feet for any aircraft is 250 knots.
And maintain flight level 220. Keep speed not above 250 knots.
Okay.
Climb and maintain flight level 220. Keep speed not above 250 knots. Airbus X-Ray Golf Sierra.
So yeah, the speed limit for any aircraft under 10,000 feet is 250 knots. And we're about to hit that now. Just approaching. You can see that there on the left-hand side.
100 climbing flight level tree 60.
JetBlue tree. Boston departure. Altimeter 299er2. Radar contact. Continue.
Turn the strobe light off, actually. Sorry, on, sorry. Also didn't put the landing lights on, which you should do for takeoff. That's one thing I didn't do. Seatbelt light is still on, which is fine.
Airbus X-Ray Golf Sierra contact Boston Center.
Lovely sunset.
Good day.
133.325 for Airbus X-Ray Golf Sierra. Boston Center, Airbus Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra is passing 8,300 climbing flight level 220. Airbus Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra, Boston Center, altimeter 299er2, radar contact, continue to Jade.
There's
This is what I do in many, many different ways.
check.